Hey folks, I'm Papa Boris, and I am really excited to begin analyzing the games from Stage 2 of the 2025 Through the Ages World Championship. We need to begin with a little bit of a disclaimer on this one. I got some angry comments on YouTube. Someone was like, oh, Boris making fun of his opponents when he himself loses because he sucks. And it's like, yes, I am as good as I am, and I'm not as good as a lot of people, but I still want to make videos about this game. So in case anyone needs the disclaimer, I am not a world grandmaster at this game. I'm just doing the best I can with the analysis. I hope to learn and become better from the process of reviewing my own games. And if I make poor commentary, I would be blessed if a better player were watching and could point out errors in my reasoning. With that said, let's begin. Our first player in this game is Lord Michael der Gross, and in German, der just means the, so it's Lord Michael the Gross? Lord Michael the Nasty. I'm just going to call him Nasty Michael. Nasty Michael takes Cleopatra, which is exactly what I would do. I am kind of in love with this leader. It is just such a strong effect to get these extra rocks, and I would pick her over a lot of things, certainly over all this stuff. Our next opponent is Pepe, and it's worth noting this is actually the strongest opponent in the group. I can't believe I didn't do this in my little introductory video for Stage 2. I should, and will definitely do this kind of thing in the future. I didn't look at the players' stats from their first stage. Spillis Willis actually came in fourth in his group with 6 points. Lord Michael, I forget what he got in his group, but he was third like me. And Pepe was also third. However, he was third with 20 points in his group. First and second place in his group tied with 22 each. So he was like one unlucky card draw away from winning his group. Unlike me, who lost all three 3-player games and lost 2 of my 3 2-player games. Pepe actually put in a really strong performance in his first group. Now, he might have had different opponents, maybe they weren't as good as my opponents. I sure would like to think that, but he's the player I was most concerned about while playing this game. He takes a pretty classic combo, Colossus and Homer. This has been played by many folks, stretching back to the dawn of the Through the Ages expansion. So it makes sense because Colossus only has 2 stages, so it's relatively easier to build. You can get it done sooner and have Homer replace it, put a happy face underneath it, get some strength. Homer might help you build a unit or 2 with some extra rocks. It's a classic combo. I still am prejudiced against Homer. I just don't like having to build my wonder before I replace the leader. So I would have taken Urban Growth to go with the Colossus here, but there's nothing wrong with Pepe's move. For all I know, it's actually the better move, and my prejudice is costing me value. On my turn, I set some prejudice aside and I took the Hanging Gardens. You don't have to. You could take Acropolis. It's a very decent wonder, but you know what? Like let's just go for it. Let's take the Hanging Gardens. It's not like this is crap or anything. It's still a decent-ish thing, even if it's everyone's least favorite wonder. One thing to check, by the way, if you're wondering how hard to go with your prejudice against Hanging Gardens, is to see if there is Michelangelo in the game, and there is here. Hanging Gardens plus Michelangelo is 2 culture per turn, and honestly, 2 culture for an Age 1 hero is perfectly fine. Culture, especially early culture, can be really important and have a big impact on the game. So since Michelangelo is in here, I was more inclined to get Hanging Gardens. If not, obviously you can avoid it. You can take Urban Growth and Rich Land just for 2 extra rocks, or you can take Engineering Genius if you're one of those people. There's other things you can do, but I decided, hey, screw it. Let's just take the Hanging Gardens. Let's grab Rich Land and let's call it a day. Now this Rich Land is actually a mistake. So I should have taken Urban Growth. And it feels weird when I have 3 actions as the third player to just spend 2 of them. But the thing is, it's psychological, right? Either way, I'm getting Hanging Gardens and a yellow card. It doesn't matter if I pay 2 actions for it or 1. And leaving this here just gives a free rock to my opponent after me. Obviously, in multiplayer games, we all know the game theory. Don't go out of your way to screw just one opponent. But the thing is that, this would have cost me nothing. I would still get a rock either way. It's just that now, when Spillis Willis goes, he gets to take his Tier 3 card of choice, the Acropolis, and also gets a free rock from Urban Growth. So that was a misplay on my part to start the stage. Woo! And the draft is over. We begin. All right, so Michael McNasty is over here. What does he do for his first turn? Well, he plays his leader. He builds a mine. He raises population. And now he's got an action left, and the only yellow card that does not cost extra actions is Frugality, so he takes it. He takes this one, which I think is pretty smart, because it pretty much guarantees that he's going to get the library. Pepe, I, and Spillis Willis all have a wonder under construction. This, arguably the best wonder in the game, is now guaranteed to land in the 1-action card row for Lord Michael's next turn. Now, he did make a mistake here, in my opinion. Instead of building a mine, he should have used Cleopatra's rock here to build a lab. Now, the thing is, you might say, oh, but Boris, yeah, he saves a rock, but then he loses a rock because he doesn't build a mine. That's true. However, if you can use Cleopatra's power to build a lab on turn 1, and you can somehow use it again on turn 2, then you actually get the rock back. And that is what's going to happen because he's got the Library of Alexandria coming, and the first stage of this wonder is 1 rock. So if you leave it like this, then on your next turn, you pay both your rocks to build a mine, you then take Alexandria, and you use Cleopatra's rock to build the first stage. So you used her power both times, making up for the rock that you didn't get on the first turn. So I do think that's an error. However, there is an upside to the way he did it, which we're going to see in this game, but I still think the odds of that happening are small enough that the correct overall play is to use Cleopatra to make a lab on turn 1 if you know you're going to get Library of Alexandria on turn 2, or any other wonder with a 1 rock first stage. Okay, Pepe puts Homer into play. He grabs Engineering Genius, obviously for 1 rock, or 1 action, that's great. He raises population, he builds a mine. Solid through the ages, let's proceed. It's my first turn. What am I going to do? I'm going to build a mine with my rich land, raise population, and I need a leader. So which of these 3 leaders do I take? Well, I'm prejudiced against Julius Caesar. I'm just not a huge fan of this because the military action is nice. More card draw is good. It lets you find tactics for Genghis or for Jan. It lets you find colonies for Christopher Columbus. And that's just in this game. You know, obviously there's other interactions, other leaders that you might want to search for things for. But here, 3 of our 7 leaders really benefit from like digging deeper into the deck. And that's nice. I just wish that, you know, it's a leader. All he's doing is giving me a strength that might not matter and the ability to play 2 political actions I might not want to play. I don't like to gamble on it. I prefer to get guaranteed value. So I take Aristotle and I play him. But I actually think I made a mistake here. Because if you look at what's happening, had I taken Julius Caesar, Aristotle would have fallen off the board, and Spilus Willis, who also needs a leader, would have had nothing but Ashoka. And a lot of people don't like this leader, I've noticed. So I would have stuck him with it or forced him to play the beginning of the game without a leader. As it is, I'm leaving Caesar for him, and he is a perfectly serviceable, reasonable leader. So I should have maybe taken Caesar, but I went for the extra science with Aristotle, so we passed the turn, and it's Bruce Spillis over here. Well, he's happy to gobble up Julius Caesar, build a mine, and for his last action, raise population. Oh my god! Everybody's playing reasonable through the ages! How delightful! He could have built a lab with urban growth, but you don't necessarily have to do that. In this case, it's not like with Cleopatra where it's a mistake not to. It's just in this case choosing to get a science instead of a rock. And I think it's fair to choose to take a rock. I mean, rocks are very valuable. I think both options are reasonable here. So a nice draft and a nice turn 1, and everyone's just going to play reasonably from here on out. Right? Well, let's see. Lord Michael flips an event and he gets this. Now, this card, or the card that gives 2 rocks, or the development of planning, flipping one of these 3, lets him make a pretty awesome first turn play. He puts Library under construction, and then with Cleopatra's bonus rock, he just builds it. So he dodges the dreaded turn 2 doldrums of Through the Ages, where often on the second turn there's nothing good to do with your actions, by putting them all to use, and building the wonder is the same as building a lab, which is what you would normally be doing on turn 2. Had he built a lab on turn 1, he would not have been able to do this, he would not have been able to finish his wonder, although it's worth noting that he would have had a lab here, he'd still be making 2 science, he just wouldn't have this wonder done. So that was a cool benefit. He gets to do the flex of building a wonder on turn 2 as early as it can just about possibly happen. And then we move on to Pepe's turn. Pepe plays an event. It's a free temple for everybody. He gets his temple, raises population, builds the first stage of the Colossus, grabs Breakthrough, and then takes Urban Growth A. And this is where the reasonableness stops. Now, this I think is a big mistake. Just build your lab. Just build it. Taking this, yes, that is a rock off of your lab on the next turn, but what you're doing is you're paying an action to get this rock, and you're also paying a science not having this built right now. Pepe, as we're going to see, maybe not so much in, spoiler alert, this game, but in the other 4-player game, I think he really is a strong player, and I wonder how much stronger he could be if he cleaned up some of this early stuff, because this is, if you think about it, it's like trading an action and a science for 1 rock, and that is not a good trade. So I would critique this move, but otherwise this turn was totally fine. And we go over to me. Now, of course, I'm regretting that I picked Hanging Gardens because Himeji Castle is right here, but obviously I didn't know that it was going to be there if I didn't take the gardens, so it's still, I think, correct for me to have taken the Wonder there, or at least reasonable. I raise population, I build my lab. I could have built the Wonder, actually, also, but there's absolutely no reason to build this Wonder to rush it. Hanging Gardens is just a Wonder that does not need to be rushed. So I focus on my economy, I build a lab, and then now I spend 2 actions to take iron, and I do think this is the correct move here. The reason for iron over irrigation, over yellow cards or whatever, is not just a preference of rock over food. It's because rock is extremely valuable in this situation specifically. Since if I do get Michelangelo, Michelangelo's got this thing where when you take a wonder from the card row, you don't pay extra civil actions for your completed wonders, which is potentially just insane. And it actually makes me sad that Himeji Castle was out so early before I could, get everything online and get it built. But because of this, you want to have your iron upgraded as soon as possible so you can actually take some of these awesome wonders and build them really quickly. Or at the very least, so that you can build multiple H2 wonders without paying the action penalty. So I do want iron going, and I think in this case it actually would be wrong to take irrigation over iron, even if generally you prefer food. All right, it's Spillis Willis's turn. He plays an event. We all get some science. He's Julius Caesar. He could play another event. Does he have one to play? He does not. He builds his Acropolis. So we got a couple of rushed wonders here, and he's got that online now. He grabs Himeji Castle and puts it under construction. Now, this is a move that you can probably guess if you've watched my other videos that I'm going to criticize because this wonder costs 9 rocks and he only makes 3 rocks per turn. But credit to Spillis Willis, the guy in our group who got 4th in his stage 1 group and, perhaps is the weakest player here statistically, he makes this work. And I don't know if that's luck or if I'm undervaluing this play. I still would not make this play when my rock production's only 3. I would take alchemy. I would take irrigation. I would raise my population and grab a random breakthrough. I would do just about anything before I took this wonder, but in this case, he kind of shows me up and it ends up working out well for him. Anyway, we pass the turn. And it's up to Nasty Michael to show us how it's done. He gets his free temple, he raises population, he grabs alchemy, he grabs irrigation. This is very, solid, unadventurous play. I can't necessarily critique it, although I will note that because he did this, he did not use Cleopatra's extra rock. It's like he used it to build the library, and then he's like, I'm done with it. I don't want extra rocks. Free rocks? And don't want to use those. He just continuously does not use his amazing leader's ability. I think that, as awesome as irrigation is and as awesome as alchemy is, I think it makes sense to use your leader's rock, get this 3rd science, have a much stronger, have 50% more science than everybody else, perhaps be able to afford, some exciting text like Code of Laws, that's my move in another game, Code of Laws or Monarchy down the road. And yeah, it sucks then to miss on one of these and have to wait for another copy or to wait for selective breeding in age 2. But I do think that you need to be using Cleopatra's extra rocks. Anyway, he passes the turn. Pepe's up, plays an event, and it's development of civil life. Now, I want to pause for a second here. Take a moment and admire how royally screwed Pepe is out of nowhere. I mean, seriously, look at this position. What would you do? We got this garbage-ass board with just nothing good here. I mean, the wonder, I guess, but he can't put it under construction. I mean, he could finish Colossus and then put this under construction, but it's not even like a wonder you necessarily need to try to get under construction when you have no economy going, not even your second lab. He's got nothing to do, just a bunch of jank-ass cards. And on top of that, the event that he flipped is development of civil life, which gives him an extra action. So he uses it to build a lab for free and a 2 rock discount, which is probably all he could do with development of civil life. He then spends 3 rocks to finish building his wonder, which is all there is to do productively, and now he's got 3 actions to do squat dickory diddle doodle. Now, he has a hand limit of 4, and he's already got 2 cards in hand, so he can't even take 3 cards for the future. He can only take 2 cards and then sit on another action. It's just a heartbreaking situation for him. I honestly feel bad. He just got screwed over, and I don't think he did anything wrong. It's just like a massive action economy screwage going on over here. So what would I do? In his situation, I think I would take drama. Because with drama, as you know, I always like to look for this, is there a synergy with drama for the later leaders? And here there is. We have Bach in this game, and we have Gaudi in this game, and we have Marlene in this game, and we have Ian Fleming in this game. So we got 4 of the leaders that really care about getting your libraries and or theaters developed. So getting the drama here when you've got nothing better to do, I mean, you're basically being forced to do it, is completely fine. I might then take like theology and research it with breakthrough just to get it out of the hand. I don't need happy faces anytime soon because I've got Homer for the happy face on the Colossus. So it's really not a great use of my time, but it's what I would do. Now, Pepe chooses a different approach, and I really credit him for it. He takes Swordsman for 3 actions, which hurts because there's 2 of them here, and there's a really good chance that one of them will make its way down to the 1 action row before your next turn. It's unlikely that 2 opponents are going to take both of them while they're in the 2 area, just because people seem to undervalue Swordsman a lot. But this makes sense here because he really had nothing much better to do with his actions, and I respect the guy for actually appreciating this technology, which I think is underrated. So his turn ends, and it's over to me. And I'm also kind of screwed because the board still sucks, but in my case, I'm lucky because I got things to do. I use the free action to research iron, and then I just upgrade 2 of my mines, so I only have 2 actions that I need to use somehow. And what I decide to do with them is grab drama, because I'm happy to take a drama, unlike Pepe, and then I take urban growth. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of speculative card grabs like this, but there isn't much else to do, and I don't want to take theology because I have hanging wonders for happy faces, so this would be extra useless for me. My turn ends. Spillos Wolves is up. He has no events. He builds his lab, solid, grabs Theocracy, puts it into play, and grabs Theology to fix some more happy faces later. Now, this is not a move I'm a huge fan of because this government causes dependency issues. I kind of understand his reasoning. It was only 3 science, and it's pretty cool. For 3 science, get a culture, get a strength, get a happy faces, you increase your urban limit, get an extra military action, make up for when Caesar gets replaced, you still have 3. All of that makes perfect sense. And I respect that, especially because it only costs 3 with the Acropolis. But you now have this issue where if you're ever relying on that happy face, you can't switch out of the government. So I kind of understand the thinking of, hey, use the Acropolis to get some jank government early, then replace it later with a better one, while again taking advantage of the science discount from this wonder. But here, spending 2 actions and 3 out of his 5 science to do it seemed a little bit strange. What I would have preferred to do, since he was at 5 science, is take Code of Laws and build it next turn, or research it next turn, or take Swordsman, just to get them, and now no one else can have Swordsman, or to just raise population and grab a speculative rich land or reserves, probably rich land. I would do any of those things over committing myself to Theocracy, getting addicted to this happy face, making it hard to switch out of later, and just using a lot of my science right now. Yes, it's discounted to 3, which is a great price for a government, but 3 is still a lot for something that you might not be happy with later on. In any case, it may not be that crazy of a move. He is now threatening me and Nasty Michael. Both of us are stuck at 1, and each of us has only 2 military actions, so we are in danger, and this does put pressure on us. So perhaps a reasonable move. So how is Nasty Michael going to deal with the pressure from Caesar over here? Well, he uses his free civil, whatever that event called, Department of Civil Life, Development of Civil Life action to research alchemy. He grabs urban growth. He grabs rich land. He raises population with a frugality. He builds a warrior, and then he grabs another card, the reserves. Now, if we take a look at this turn, this is where Nasty Michael veers off the Papa Boris train. Up until now, he's been playing pretty solid, clean through the ages. This is where I think things get a little funky. He used one of his 4 actions to raise population and all 3 other actions to take these cards. And I don't see that that makes a lot of sense because he has other things to do. He can use Cleopatra's bonus rock to just upgrade this lab right now. So this urban growth, which gives 2 rocks for an action, is actually only giving him 1 rock. And 1 action for 1 rock is not great. On top of that, with Cleopatra's bonus, it would only cost him 2 rocks to upgrade this lab, which means that he can also research irrigation and upgrade it. That means that this rich land isn't just an action for 2 rocks, it's an action and a food for 2 rocks. So now it's just a 2 resource for 2 resource exchange. I don't think it's worth it. I think a very reasonable turn here would have been frugality, raise population, upgrade lab, research irrigation, upgrade farmer, just paying your remaining 2 rocks for it, and move on with your day. That's what I would have done. So Pepe is up, and notice how Swordsman does fall into his hands, but of course he can't take it because he already took it. We get a free warrior, though Pepe, poor guy, just getting so screwed in this game, and he hasn't done anything wrong, really, other than the stuff I talked about earlier with the urban growth. But, I mean, he's just not doing anything horribly wrong. He's just getting dicked over because of his position in the player order. He misses out on the free warrior. So what does he do? He grabs alchemy, which makes sense. It's a good technology. He researches alchemy, and he upgrades a lab. A very principled turn. I might have done the same thing, though I have to say I'm very, very happy he didn't take Michelangelo. Now, Michelangelo is not amazing here. Obviously, it's just one culture, and he doesn't have the rocks to take advantage of the wonder stuff. But had he taken the temple, which would have been 2 culture with Michelangelo, then he might have been more inclined to take Michelangelo here. As it is, I breathe a huge sigh of relief. Just, oh my god. Everything's falling into place for me. So I've got Michelangelo, which I really want for later when Hanging Gardens is finished. I grab Swordsman, because I love those swordsmen. I research them right away because I do have combat pressure, and I could have avoided this. I could have had Caesar myself, and then Spilus Willis wouldn't have been doing this to me right now. But I research the swordsman, I grab Code of Laws. Next turn I'll be able to research it. And I upgrade a swordsman, so my strength is at 2, so that Caesar Willis cannot... Caesar Willis. I should just call him that for the rest of the video. Caesar Willis is not able to aggress me. Now, I could have put Michelangelo on right now. I also could have started building the Wonder here, but I just wanted everything. I wanted the swords, I wanted the Code of Laws, and I also wanted to keep Aristotle because I judge that getting an extra science or 2 is better than getting an extra culture, which is all Michelangelo would be doing right now. All right, so Spilus Willis is up. He's got iron for an action, totally fine. He researches it, or he takes it, can't research it yet. He builds the first stage of the Wonder, raises population, grabs patriotism. Perfectly normal turn, except the patriotism makes no sense to me because rich land is right here, and you do have iron that you're planning to research. But next turn he does use this, so... I mean, maybe that was just his planning, is try to apply pressure to my opponents militarily. Personally, I don't like going for that in Age 1. We've talked about this before. There just aren't that many of these cards, and people can typically survive them. There have been many games where I've just been, like, wrecked by these Age 1 cards. Like, maybe not wrecked, but racked. Like, oh, no, I lost a population. Oh, no, I lost rocks. And then I did fine, because the resources that my opponent spent to be able to do that are greater than the resources that I lost from him actually aggressing upon me in that way. But anyway, that's his plan, is take patriotism, let the rich land go, and we're back to Nasty Michael. So he grabs the knights. Everybody loves the knights. He uses Cleopatra's bonus rock. Woo! He grabs warfare. He grabs irrigation. Or he researches irrigation. I am not a huge fan of this because warfare is just so expensive, and it doesn't give that much. And there were other things to do here. I mean, he could have, increased his farm. In fact, he could have left knights and warfare on the board and raised both farms up to irrigation levels. So that may have been my preference. It's also worth noting that Jan von Shishkebab is a really great leader, and Lord Michael is leaving him on the table. And, after that, there are still a lot. We're kind of backed up. The leaders were toward the bottom of the deck, so it's not crazy to leave him there. But I feel like there were other things to do besides this warfare. In any case, he grabs the Legion and then ends the turn as the strength leader in preparation for the Age 1 events filling up. Oh yeah, also, because of this, he's actually corrupt. Had he raised population and built a farm, he would not have lost 2 rocks to corruption. Pepe's up, he plays an event, we all get some free stuff. His go, what's he gonna do? Well, he's gonna take Jan, and he's gonna grab knights, because everybody loves knights. He replaces Homer. Gets that free happy face, he gets Jan into play, he raises population, and he makes a warrior. Now, does he have the Legion or the fighting band? He doesn't, and he's corrupt. Now, he could have avoided the corruption if, instead of taking knights, he had upgraded his lab, which is what I would have done. I, as you know, I'm not a huge fan of knights to begin with, and I would have definitely taken the opportunity to get my science up and to avoid corruption and save 2 rocks in exchange for knights. Personally, I don't think knights are worth a science and 2 rocks. So that's just me. But he feels differently, and he's a pretty good player, so we'll let it go. Turn ends, and it's over to me. I get down my Code of Laws. I grab Alchemy, because Alchemy's awesome. I decide it's time to replace Aristotle. I could have left him another turn. I didn't have to replace him here, but I decided to go for it. I raise population. I build a swordsman. I do a fighting ban, so I can now have a chance of maybe avoiding some negative effects or even winning something big if I break ties against Lord Michael. And I build my last lab. Now, I also decide to build a first stage of the Hanging Gardens because next turn I'm going to have to finish it. There were other ways to potentially go that turn. Notably, I could have, not done a couple of things. Like I could have maybe not upgraded my last mine and not built a stage and gotten irrigation. That is going to cause me some grief this game. Now, things get pretty crazy in H2, and maybe we could say that that's bad luck and that statistically the moves I made were fine. But in the 4-player game, there are 3 copies of Selective Breeding, and some people will have likely gotten irrigation, which, I guess only Lord Michael has so far, but whoever gets this irrigation plus Lord Michael, they're not going to want Selective Breeding, and they're not going to want to spend the actions to hate draft it from you if they understand basic game theory. So it's tempting to say, well, let's just get one of those 3 copies of Selective Breeding. Surely one will be available. But you'll see in this game, there is a price to be paid for not getting irrigation when you have the chance. I end my turn feeling pretty good, getting good culture, getting good strength. Julius Caesar plays Patriotism, makes a warrior. He does have fighting ban, so Pepe got unlucky a couple of times this game, and he didn't get a tactic. Had he had a tactic, if he had a fighting band here, he would have been getting 2 extra strength, and he would have gotten 2 extra culture. He'd be at 6 strength. Pay attention to that. It's about to be important. He researches iron, upgrades a lab, grabs the irrigation for 1 action, and avoids corruption, ends the turn. Solid turn, no problem. So we got our Age 1 events ready to go. Nasty Michael flips one. And nasty man that he is, it's Call to Arms! So Pepe, if he had a fighting band, he would have been at 6. And it would have been Nasty Michael and me. In fact, I would have lost 2 cards, and Nasty Michael would have lost 1. But instead, I lose 1, and Pepe loses 2. So now Pepe lost half of his actions, and it was all because he didn't have a fighting band from the deck. In fact, even if he had Legion would have also given him 2 strength. It would have given him 2 strength and 1 culture instead of 2 strength and 2 culture, but it would have given him 2 strength and he would have avoided it with one of those tactics as well. All right, so Nasty Michael, relishing what has just taken place and just drenching himself in nastiness, grabs the Monarchy, plays it to fix his actions, use up all his science. It's fine. He's still got more science in the tank here when he gets his other lab going. Perfectly reasonable move, and there's kind of junk to take here. He grabs Saladin, and that I don't understand. I don't know what everybody's deal with Saladin is. It doesn't make sense to me. I think he's fine, but Jesus Christ, you could raise your population, build a lab, use Cleopatra's bonus, and get out of corruption. It would be 3 plus 5. That's 8 tokens. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you get out of corruption. As it is, he's corrupt for 4 rocks. The man was corrupt for 4 rocks. And he lost a rock from Cleopatra. So he lost 5 rocks for this guy. 5 rocks. That makes no sense to me. I would have taken Leonardo, by the way. If I was taking a leader, you've got a library. You've got the Age 1 lab already. He's already giving you an extra science. I still wouldn't do it to lose 5 rocks, but I would if I was put at gunpoint and forced to take a leader here. But it is absolutely baffling to me, and someone tell me if I'm missing something, why he would not have just raised population and built a lab here. In any case, okay, I guess we are about to hit corruption, right? Or H2, we're about to lose a yellow token. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he counted to be like, oh, hang on, I'm about to lose and there's going to be unhappiness here. I would still do it. If I have to I don't know, blow up a farmer or get rid of a warrior or something, fine, so be it. But I'm getting this lab built. Anyway, Pepe's up. Poor guy loses half his turn, and he takes and plays Cartography, which may seem a little bit weird when you have other things to do, like you can upgrade a lab, for example. You could research Swordsman. If you upgrade lab and research Swordsman, you can then pay a rock to upgrade a Swordsman, avoid corruption. But it would appear that some of these cards in here were colonies. And so Pepe knew this, and he needed to get Cartography down. Obviously, if not for Call to Arms, he could have done this and upgraded the lab and played Swordsman and gotten out of corruption. Call to Arms, I hate that card. I think I just hate it. I think I just wish this card didn't exist. It was added in the expansion, and I think it just sucks. Yeah, I kind of get the idea of putting more cards into the military deck that have significant effects to reward people for having high strength and to punish people for having low strength. But you know what? I'm not saying I'm right or justified. I'm just saying I hate it. Anyway, poor Pepe, man. He's just getting rolled over hard. And he does at least end this turn thanks to the Legion that he can now copy from Nasty Michael. This was not available. Nasty Michael played it last turn. It was out here. It just passed into here, and Pepe takes it for 2 military actions. So he's out of the hole strength-wise, but one card was flipped, and the damage was dealt. If that call to arms had been anywhere else, Pepe would have avoided it. It's rare that I feel bad for my opponents, but I feel so bad for him. He didn't do anything wrong, and is just getting completely mauled in this game. All right, so I'm up. I don't play an event. I build the Hanging Gardens. The age about to end is my last chance. By the way, Antiquities Wonders, in case you don't know, AJ Wonders, they just disappear if you hit age 2 and have not finished them, so I have to finish building this thing. And now what to do with my last actions? Well, I research alchemy, and I upgrade a lab. And that conveniently dodges corruption, so I am a happy guy. I upgrade my labs. That's me. And we pass the turn. By the way, I took no text this turn, so the fact that I replaced Aristotle didn't hurt me, and it gave me 1 extra culture. Spillis Willis is up. He plays an event. It's Barbarians. Nothing happens. Does he play another event? He does for the first time, and it's a territory. Pepe lives the dream here. He has an astronomical 3 colonization bonus for the low price of a single fighter. He gets 3 science, a yellow token, and a blue token, which is spectacular. And he's still actually tied for highest strength because of Jan's ability. Jan von Shishkebab over here is making these 2 farmers count as warriors for the purpose of Legion, so he just loses the 1 strength of the warrior. The 2 bonus strength from the Legion stays intact. Okay, what is Spillis Willis going to do here? He needs a leader, right? He needs a leader. He doesn't have a leader from age 1. What's he going to do? Well, he's going to upgrade a mine. He's going to take Engineering Genius to finish the last stage of the castle. He's going to raise his population, and he's going to build a warrior, and he's going to take drama. Now, I don't hate the drama play, but I do think it's weird he didn't want to take a leader. I guess he was trying to wait for Genghis Khan here. The risk that you incur by playing like this is that... oh, no, never mind. I'm wrong. Forget me. This is totally fine. Genghis Khan will slide down, and Genghis Khan is a better leader than either of these because, well, he doesn't have any labs or libraries, obviously, for Leonardo, and Barbarossa's just a very situational leader in any case. So it's fair to wait for Genghis and reap the benefit of 3 culture per turn. And he's got the drama, which I respect. We've talked about saving up for drama. So actually, this is a perfectly normal, fine turn. Yay. All right. Spillis Willis grabs the Legion, and he passes the turn. All right. Nasty Michael feeling a bit of pressure here because he's now, again, 3 strength behind. But he does have an extra military action thanks to being in Monarchy, and he's also got this Warfare here ready to go. So he's actually... never mind, I was wrong. He's not feeling any pressure. He's totally fine. He plays Saladin, 5 rock Sally over here, and grabs iron. Well, if you're going to throw away all your rocks to get a mediocre leader, I guess you should take iron and try to get your rock production up. What are we doing about this corruption here? Well, he raises population, upgrades a farm, and builds that lab. Finally. So it's like what should have happened last turn happening this turn, and he's out of corruption. He's doing fine. He chooses strength, which may be fine. Normally, of course, you'd rather have an extra action, but maybe he knows that there are dangerous events in here, or maybe he's afraid of it. Either way, perfectly reasonable to choose the strength. And we go over to Pepe. Pepe plays an event. It's rocks! Yay! So he's going to research swordsman, raise population, upgrade this lab finally, upgrade a swordsman, and build a swordsman, and he still has another action to go. And that is going to be to grab Frugality, which is a little weird, but he didn't really have much else to do with it. There's no Shakespeare this game, so we don't want to take Printing Press. Gaudi likes Printing Press, but Pepe doesn't have workers. He has no food, and he doesn't have a wonder or anything that helps with workers. I mean, I guess Colossus with Homer's happy face is giving him an extra worker, but it's nothing to go crazy for, so I think it's reasonable to take the Frugality here just because the alternatives are basically junk. And now I'm definitely feeling some pressure. This is a pretty scary strength difference. Okay, but luckily I do have a way to deal with it. So I raise population, and I just build a flat swordsman. I hate doing it, but it's the kind of thing you have to do because you can't afford to just be 4 strength behind somebody, especially when that somebody has Colossus, just drew 3 H2 military cards, and might be prepared to blow up your labs with them. You just have to respect it. Now, what are we going to do with the rest of the actions here? Well, we can upgrade a lab. That's great. And now, unfortunately, there's no wonder here. It would have been great if any of these cards were an Age 1 wonder with all these rocks and Michelangelo. I would have been all over it. As it is, I'm feeling a little bit of the Pepe bad luck. This board just completely sucks, and there's not much for me to do. I grab Theology here, which I end up later being really happy about. But at the moment, I was like, well, I don't need these happy faces, but there's just nothing else for me to do. I also don't have food, so I don't have workers to spare for printing press. I research it, and I upgrade one, and I'm still corrupt because of the way the blue tokens work, so it's kind of sad. I am getting an extra culture with Michelangelo, and I am actually kind of whomping everybody on the culture front here. 6. It's almost everybody else combined, but I would have preferred to have a wonder, and I would have preferred not to be corrupt, so a little bit of a tough turn here. All right, Spillis Willis grabs Genghis. After playing an event, it's free culture, which is great. I'm happy this is on the bottom and not on the top of the deck. That means I had time to get my culture rating up, so I get 6 points. He finishes the castle, so he gets 2 points for that, and he gets up to strength, grabs Genghis. So now he's actually getting 8 culture per turn, which is a monumental amount of culture, and he upgrades his final mine. A very good, very principled turn. I will just say it's worth considering taking Code of Laws, because you need civil actions, but I understand why he wouldn't have wanted to spend all his science to do that when his science production is low, and he did not get the alchemy. He plays Phalanx from his hand for 1 extra strength to use Genghis's power, and the turn passes. All right, so Nasty Michael's up. He raises his population. He grabs the Code of Laws. And with Code of Laws and Monarchy, he's set for civil actions this game, so that's great for him. He also has the time to research iron and upgrade a couple of mines. Very good, very principled turn, and we pass. Okay, Pepe's up. He plays an event. It's Raiders, so Nasty Michael and I each have to lose 2 resources, which kind of sucks. He puts Machu Picchu under construction, which is a little weird because he did not get iron or irrigation. Okay, well, let me try to show the text. Let me try to show the text of this wonder. So this makes it so that your best age A or age 1 age A or age 1 farm and mine produce an extra blue token. But he didn't get irrigation or iron. But actually, this move makes sense because, again, he was just royally screwed. He had, like, nothing to do with his turn. Now, you might say, Papa Boris, what do you mean nothing to do? He could have taken Monarchy and played it. That's probably what I would have done. This just feels so weird. Take Monarchy, research it. But I guess maybe he's thinking, well, I got 14 science, and I'm making 4. Let's just wait for the good government, the Republic, or ideally a constitutional monarchy, instead of playing Monarchy now. A good action now is often better than the best action later. So maybe he should have just done this instead of building the Strange Wonder. But on the other hand, it is a way for him to spend his rocks, avoid corruption, and put his actions to use and make some extra resources. It's not much, but it is giving him some food and some rock while he's waiting for the Age 2 technologies to come online. All right, so it's me. I'm very happy that Bach is the literal top of the deck. That's fantastic. I grab reserves, I grab Bach, I grab frugality, and I grab rich land. Because I got nothing to do on this turn. There's no wonders to build anywhere. I got absolutely nothing to do. Now, why the reserves? Well, because I need to get workers, and this is a way for me to get 3 food. So that was the express plan that I had when I took this card. I lost, by the way, a rock and a food to Raiders. Normally in this situation, you would just lose 2 food, but I chose to lose 1 food and 1 rock, so I had 1 food left over, plus the 3 from reserves would let me raise my population and get kind of an emergency worker while I wait for these 3 selective breedings to show up out of the deck. I copy the Legion from the tactics pile, so I'm a little bit closer to these top dogs, and we pass the turn. All right, Spillis the Willis is up. What's he going to do? He plays an event while he's the leader, and we all lose a population. And this event is so bad for everybody. Spillis Willis, no idle workers. Nasty Michael, no idle workers. Pepe, no idle workers. And me, no idle workers. Nobody has idle workers. Now, Pepe can at least get the worker back because he's got 3 food. But me? Well, I mean, I can. I would have to pay the reserves to do it. Spillis Willis can't, and Nasty Michael can't. So real hard sacrifices have to get made. This pestilence was horrifyingly bad, and I wish to God it had been lower in the deck. Now, what Spillis Willis chooses to do is he blows up one of his iron mines, which hurts. Then he takes coal, researches it, and upgrades his irons to coals right away. There's a certain elegance to this because he's still making 6 rocks just like he was with 3 iron, so it's kind of like, yay, I dodged the pestilence. Well, no, because you paid 7 science to research coal when you already had iron, which is inefficient, and when your science production is 2. I think this was a blunder. I think you just have to accept that, your life sucks. What you could do here, let me just clear up that text, is you could get rid of a lab or maybe the temple or a warrior and then raise population and bring them... Beg pardon, he didn't have the food to raise it right away. He got that from the thing. You keep your farm, you suffer for a turn without it, and then the next turn you use these 3 food and build back whatever it was that you sacrificed. So you can just do that. Maybe the temple is what makes the most sense. It would just basically be giving up a culture. And then 3 rocks, of course, plus the action to rebuild the temple. But, everyone's getting hit by the pestilence, so you're not alone in feeling the pain. And then you can use your actions to research irrigation and improve your food. You could take cannon. That's good, right? You could take constitutional monarchy and try to get out of this theocracy. There's like a lot of different things that you can do. And I don't think that spending 7 science and his entire turn to replace the iron with coals was correct. Like we learn in computer science, sometimes the elegant solution to a problem is not the best solution to a problem. All right, Nasty Michael plays an event. We lose our food. we just lost our worker, not an idle worker, but just an actual worker. Pepe, poor Pepe. Pepe, remember, he had 3 food. He could have gotten his worker back. Nope, it's rats time. These assholes, I say that with all love. These assholes are playing these horrible events in here. Call to arms, rats, the pestilence. I know maybe this is like a flaw in my gameplay. I'm too soft. I don't play these cards. I cannot stand it. But anyways, okay. So Lord Michael, he loses an idle worker. All right, he had an idle worker. I beg your pardon, I miscommentated. He actually did have an idle worker. It's the other 3 of us who didn't. So he loses the idle worker. The problem was that he now has revolt because the idle worker jumps back up here. But organized religion is there, so he probably gets out the best of all of us. All he lost was an idle worker. He now takes organized religion. He researches it. He fixes his happy faces, and he also got to grab the Conmon. Now, the constitutional monarchy, when you already have monarchy and code of laws, I actually think it's a mistake. He did pay 2 actions for it, which is a lot. And with 6 actions, you can be fine for a while, even till the end of the game. I think here, you probably know what I'm going to say. Grab your cannon, because cannon is good. And then you can also spend your last action to just spend these 2 rocks and upgrade your farm. That's what I would have done, is cannon plus upgrade farm. But he decides to go for the Conmon, and the turn is over. So Pepe is glad that the cannon wasn't taken, because he's going to be able to grab it. He plays an event. It's some free stuff for everybody. On his turn, he grabs the constitutional monarchy, but for him, it actually makes sense to pay 3 for it, because unlike Nasty Michael, he doesn't have monarchy and a code of laws waiting to go. So he can play it now, research it, and that makes me very sad, because it means that me, who is still a despot, is not going to get constitutional monarchy, as now both of them have been accounted for. Anyway, he's got 2 actions left over. He's going to finish building Machu Picchu. So he's actually making a food and will slowly get up enough to raise his worker after losing a farm to the pestilence. And then he grabs the breakthrough. Oh, right, he doesn't take the cannon here. Okay, so he grabs breakthrough for science. You know me, out of taking cannon. Make sure that you get your ducks in a row. Make sure you're not falling behind the military race. But he decides to go for 3 science. I don't know if that's a mistake or not. Maybe I'm overly prejudiced towards cannons. And the turn passes. Well, now... Finally, I get to use Michelangelo's ability for just 2 actions. I put Kremlin under construction, and I build it. So now I have an extra civil action and an extra military action, and I can kind of survive as a while for a despot with that, even till the end of the game, though I wouldn't want to. I've got Hanging Gardens, and I've got Temple Technology, so I'm very glad I was forced to take this, because that makes it easier for me to offset the Kremlin's negative happy face. And then... I take cannon, because my mama raised me right. She didn't raise no fool who don't take cannon. We're going to take this and pass the turn. All right, Spillis Willis is up here. He researches irrigation finally, upgrades his farms, and then grabs efficient upgrade. A bit of a mysterious move here, the efficient upgrade. I'm not sure what that is actually for, since he just finished upgrading, and then the theology is a 2-rock upgrade. You don't need these 3 rocks. But what else do you do with your last action? To be fair, there's not actually much for him to do. I might have preferred a revolutionary idea, although it does make sense not to do that when you only have 4 actions, but he also only has 2 science, so I think maybe this is a speculative move, planning for scientific method later, but it's a tough call, and he passes the turn. All right, so Nasty Michael's back. He offers a pack to Pepe for each of them to produce an extra resource, and it's logical. Pepe was the correct person to offer because these are the two guys who are making the least culture, so they're the two people who are losing right now, and Pepe's just been hit so hard all game that giving him a bone is perfectly reasonable, and Pepe, of course, is correct to accept. So Nasty Michael now, he's got a lot of actions to spend. He researches Code of Laws, he grabs coal, he finishes upgrading his farm, finishes upgrading his mine, and then he plays the reserves to get it out of his hand. The one thing I don't get here is the coal. You already took a Conmon for 2 actions when you have Monarchy and Code of Laws. And you already have Iron fully upgraded. Coal, I mean, that's a lot of science, and you only make 5. I get 5 is a lot. You got your labs, you got your Library of Alexandria, but there comes a point where 5 is not really enough to do things with. And so I think either you take the Conmon or you take the coal, but not both. And what else do you do instead? To be fair, there's nothing that amazing to do, but you are low on strength. Take Wave of Nationalism, 6 rocks for later. Take a Speculative Engineering Genius. You've got lots of actions. You might be able to build a wonder. I don't think the coal is actually going to make a lot of sense. But anyway, he passes the turn, and it's over to Pepe. He plays an event. It's free food, making up some of the stuff that we lost with the rats, and he's happy to see that because, of course, now he can raise his population, which he does. He's now got this worker. He grabs Selective Breeding, which is aggressive, to pay 3 actions for a card that there's 3 copies of in the deck, but at the same time, like, he needs to get his food fixed and he doesn't want to dick around. It kind of makes sense. This is a bit of a dry board here. So he builds another farm, he grabs an Engineering Genius for the future, and he passes the turn. Now, I'm happy that he didn't want to build a Transcontinental Railroad. I don't think it would have been that good for him, so it wasn't a mistake not to, but it means that I actually got to build the Kremlin and the Transcontinental Railroad. We all get some science for my event. I play reserves, I grab strategy, I put the railroad under construction, I finally get another worker, and I build back my farm. I am going to be corrupt. The main thing to question on this turn is the 2-action strategy grab. There were other things I could have done instead of that. I could have actually... Oh, no, I couldn't have. Oh, I'm out of workers from my bank. Oops, never mind. I could not have raised my population. But what I could have done is I could have taken cavalrymen. Then I would have swords, cavalry, and cannon. And we're going to see that there is a consequence of me not taking these cavalrymen. Another point of order is there's a republic here, and the constitutional monarchies have been taken. Now, I was thinking, hey, age 3 is not that far off. Let me just wait for age 3, get one of those governments. Let's not get the government with only 2 military actions. And plus, I already have 6, so going up to 9 is kind of ridiculous. Do I really need 9 civil actions? Well, I'm going to regret it. I'm going to really regret it. Didn't take this republic here when I had the chance. So anyways, I passed the turn, and Spillis Willis is up. So it's the last Age 1 event. Spillis Willis does not flip a card in. Okay, we're going to hold off on that. He grabs riflemen. He researches them. He grabs cavalrymen. Very principled, making sure you get your age 2 military techs. He upgrades his riflemen. Now, he could have taken Gaudi instead of one of these, which, you know, would give him a source of culture after Genghis Khan is forced to expire. There are still some decent leaders in the deck. Catherine's 2 culture. Robespierre could help him get out of his theocracy. Maria Theresa is good for science and culture to some extent. So leaving Gaudi here is not crazy, and I think it makes sense to have the military techs, but that was an idea to consider as well. And after getting a very, very high strength lead, making me extremely happy that I have the Transcontinental Railroad, he passes the turn. Okay, there's one card from Age 1 in the current events deck. It is the final Age 1 card of the game. We've seen rats, we've seen Call to Arms, we got brutalized by a pestilence. There's nothing else in there that could possibly hurt us. And... okay, Lord Michael is not the one who plays it. Gosh, I am really messing up the introduction of this card. Anyway, he doesn't have an event to play. He takes cavalrymen. Very reasonable. He never ended up using these knights, but hey, see, this is why I don't care about knights. He spent an action to take it. It cost him at the time, and he's not even going to use them anyways. He raises population, researches his new cavalry, makes one so he's not super far behind Spillis Willis. He grabs a scientific method and Robespierre. So Robespierre is kind of weird. I get that it's consistent because it lets him get Constitutional Monarchy out for cheaper, but at the same time, why not take Isaac Newton? Gives you a free science and extra actions for researching stuff. If you're gonna go for the scientific method on top of alchemy move, it seems like Isaac Newton, which would then be giving 2 free science, which you could get online next turn, would make a lot more sense. But he chooses Robespierre, he adopts the Phalanx, he passes the turn sitting fairly comfortable with 12 strength, and it's Pepe's turn. And Pepe flips an event, and it's Dark Ages! Oh, God! So Pepe loses 8 science after everything he's endured, but I lose 10. So I don't have much sympathy for Pepe, because I lost 10 friggin' science here, and this was just crushing. This is the first game of the new stage. You're in the lower bracket. You've got to win. Only the first place player in each group in the lower bracket gets to stay in the tournament, and I lose 10 science to Dark Ages. Oh, God. All right, he plays his knights, raises population, makes a knight. He puts the Harvard College under construction because everybody loves Harvard College for that science. He builds a stage, passes the turn. One thing to note is he could have taken Newton. I think that would make sense. It would be a free science and some extra actions when researching stuff. That's what I would have liked to do in his shoes, but he decides to get going on the Wonder and the Phalanx, and he passes the turn. So it's over to me, and I offer scientific cooperation to Pepe. We just both got hit hard by Dark Ages. We both make the same amount of science, 4. He has more science saved up than me, and we both have 6 actions. I think he should have accepted that pact. I mean, it's one of those things where I obviously wanted him to accept the pact. I was hoping he would accept the pact. Clearly, I thought there was benefit to me for him to accept the pact, so I could be blinded by that kind of prejudice. But let me know what you think. I think he should have accepted it. I think it was a mistake not to. I think he's overly afraid of scientific cooperation if he doesn't accept it in such an equal circumstance when he's also the person who still has more science built up. Anyways, I developed strategy. I still had enough science left over for that, thank God. And I principally build the Transcontinental Railroad. So now I'm actually tied for being the strength leader. I grabbed Breakthrough for some more science. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you could take something else. I didn't want to put Suez Canal under construction. I don't think it did enough, even with the fact that it's not costing me an extra civil action to take it. And then we pass the turn. All right, Spillis Willis is up. He develops drama. He raises his population, builds a theater for some culture, grabs organized religion to fix his happy faces later on, and he passes the turn. Notice, by the way, there was a republic here, and he needs civil actions, but he didn't take it. And I don't think it was unreasonable for him to not take it because, after all, we're about to be in a situation where age 3 comes, he loses these workers. If he also loses a happy face, he's got an issue. And organized religion is here to fix his happy faces, but the science is actually kind of a problem to get 7 science for this, or even 2 with revolution, and then have another 4 with only 2 science per turn. So it's this the kind of thing here with theocracy. You get dependent on that happy face, and then it's hard to switch out of it. All right, Nasty Michael plays Robespierre and revolts into constitutional monarchy. 6 science is still a lot of science, though. And one thing I wonder is why not pivot? You have warfare, so you have 3 military actions. You can do republic. Take the republic. Do 2 science instead of 6. Get an extra civil action. You've got Robespierre giving you an extra military action in the meanwhile. I think that would have actually been the correct thing to abandon the constitutional monarchy there. Now he's got 6 actions to spend. He raises population, grabs journalism for some points in science, grabs urban growth, raises population, and grabs reserves. It's fine. And we pass the turn, and it's over to Pepe Longstockings. All right, Pepe plays an event. It's freedom of movement, which no one I think does anything that crazy with. He finishes the college, so now he's got 7 science. He now grabs the efficient upgrade, researches the selective breeding, and then uses Harvard College's ability to use the efficient upgrade right away to upgrade one of his farmers. It's worth noting, I think Maria Theresa would have been a reasonable leader to take for the science and culture, but he elects not to go for her, and he passes the turn. So I'm up, I play an event, and I have to crumble Hanging Gardens. So now, of course, I'm really ruining this Kremlin, costing me a happy face. It hurts, man. This really hurts. Luckily, we have this temple that I was forced to take earlier. So I am able to fix my happy faces somewhat. I drop down Bach because Michelangelo's about to die. I grab selective breeding. Finally, I upgrade both of my farms. And for my last action, I do kind of a cute move. I turn one of my temples into a drama for extra culture. Because for the moment, I'm fine. And then once these disappear, I can just make another temple. So I'm not super worried about it. And I decide, might as well squeak out that extra culture when there's nothing better to do with my actions. Now, you might say, Papa Boris, hold on a minute. Nothing better to do with your actions. Why not take Republic? Maybe I should have taken Republic. I don't know. It would have been a lot of civil actions. You can usually put them to use in Age 3, and it may have been better than waiting for an Age 3 government. So Spillis Willis has to crumble his Acropolis. He raises population, builds a third lab, raises population again, and builds an Age A mine. It's a bit mysterious, but there wasn't really much for him to do here, so I kind of get it. And then he passes the turn. So we're still actually in Age 2 because he took no cards. Nasty Michael is up. He, what is that, turns a farm into a lab? Oh, he turns a farm into a mine. Okay, so he turned a farm into a mine. He built a lab, grabbed selective breeding, researched it, upgraded it, so he's living off of the one farm lifestyle here. He grabs the rifleman to not get caught behind, and the frugality. And now we go to Age 3, after he builds a horse here, and we're gonna do a pretty quick run through the third age. I don't know if people are gonna like this or not, but in my opinion, nothing really happens in this age. It's possibly a controversial opinion, but this video is already 55 minutes long. I spent a lot of time analyzing Ages 1 and 2, and that was on purpose because I just don't think that there was that much that happened in Age 3. If you look at what's happening here, Nasty Michael and Pepe are in the back, and Spillis Willis and I are in the front. Now, Spillis Willis is a little bit ahead of Beyond Culture, but Spillis Willis has only 4 actions and no science, and I have some science and 6 actions, so it's pretty clear that I'm going to catch up on him. So, really, this was just Nasty Michael and Pepe maneuvering for third place, as far as I can tell, and I don't really see much that happened in this game to upset that, but of course, let me know if you think differently, if you stick around to watch the rest of this video. So Pepe gets his army going, gets a farm, gets Catherine, he gets cannon to not fall behind, and he doesn't use his last action, which is kind of interesting. I think he should have taken journalism. I mean, he's got 7 card hand limit. Why not grab journalism just in case? But he doesn't want it. So it's my turn. I play an event. We get some rocks. Well, I mean, my opponents each get 2 rocks. I grab air forces just in case. I raise population and build a theater. Actually, I don't even have to build a temple yet. I grab the frugality for the future. Pass the turn. Willis the Spillis blows up a lab and turns it into a temple. He grabs scientific method for the future, gets that efficient upgrade to make a 3rd coal mine, and then he adopts the Legion, because now Genghis is dead and he can't use Phalanx anymore. Nasty Michael is up, plays an event. It's refugees, so hooray, culture and points and a population for me. Pepe getting screwed over like he was all game, the poor ripping dog of the game. Nasty Michael plays reserves, raises population, gets a temple going, he grabs some cards, and it's time to upgrade those rifles. Now, Pepe is last in strength, but he's got a pretty cool move up his sleeve here. With a military buildup grab, he raises population, plays it for 9 rocks, of which he only is going to use 2. All he needs is a knight. He plays the classic army, and bam, he's in the lead. He grabs military theory, and he actually got up enough science to use it. Bam, he's way in the lead. Catherine is ready to steal everybody's tokens. And he also takes computers, which makes sense because we do have Bill Gates and Sid Meier in this. Oh, and also Marie Curie, actually. So all of them would care to have a computer. So very sensible turn, and he passes. Okay, actually, I miscommentated. Pepe used 3 of his rocks from the military thing, not 2. Anyway, Independence Declaration. Did I crash it? I didn't. Okay, nothing happens with that one because Spillis Willis has no colonies. I grabbed tanks. It's the only thing I needed. Well, I still need the infantry, but it's the only type of military unit that I was missing. We frugality. I build a temple for the happy faces because the Hanging Gardens is dead. Grab some cards, get a cannon, and I'm ready to use this advanced tactics once my tanks come online. Spillis Willis fixes his science, grabs some rockets. That's all he can do. Man doesn't have any actions. Nasty Michael plays an event. And we have Iconoclasm. Right before Catherine was about to take everybody's tokens, she died. Of course, I lost Bach, so it's a bit of a hide the pain Herald moment for me. I might have liked to lose the yellow token, but get to keep the culture from Bach. So Nasty Michael hides behind Gandhi, grabs more food, grabs some more cards, upgrades his 1 farmer to the ultimate farmer, and he's ready to steal the classic army from Pepe. Pepe cries bitter tears of great sadness. We get some free food. He takes oil and finally fixes his rocks. He grabs air forces, raises population, and passes the turn. Me, I'm happy to see computers here. We got a Cold War, so Pepe and I get free science, which is awesome because I don't make that much. I get the tanks, I play my reserves, I build a tank. I don't actually use this yet. I want to keep it as a surprise in case I declare a war. That ends up never happening. I grab the computers and the efficient upgrade to build them and raise population because I got nothing else to do, and that's that. Spillis the Willis grabs Marie Curie, which makes sense. She gives him 2 strength, 2 science, and 2 culture. Quite strong. Plays her, grabs fundamentalism. He's going to be 1 science short of researching it next time, so that sucks for him. And we go over to Lord Michael. It's free stuff for everybody. He grabs democracy. He grabs urban growth. He puts spacelight under construction. And he's going to try to steal 3rd from Pepe, because he was a little bit behind, actually, when Age 3 started, by getting points from this wonder. All right, he gets that classic army going, so he's safe. He's Giga Chad Gandhi over here with the highest strength, and he's totally safe from everyone, and everyone is safe from him because Gandhi cannot do aggressions. Pepe flips an event, and I'm very sad about this because I was about to get my computers going and beat everybody on this, but instead I get literally 0 points. This is not a threat. I don't mind Spillis being ahead. If you look at the culture here, yes, he's a little bit ahead of me, but again, I have the ability to generate more culture, and he doesn't because he's really short on action. So I wasn't really worried here. Maybe I should have been, I'm not sure. Pepe grabs Bill Gates, grabs engineering, researches it, researches computers, gets a computer going. He's got crazy rocks, crazy science. He's just not making any culture. And time is running out. We're under 20 cards in the deck, and the gap between him and the 2 people who are in 1st and 2nd is growing, and the gap between him and the person fighting for 3rd place with him is also growing. All right, I grabbed Sid. I suppose I'm lucky that Sid showed up when he did. Maybe I would have fallen behind Syphilis. Oh my God, that's not a good nickname, Syphilis Willis. Anyway, maybe I would have fallen behind him if this hadn't been here, but I could have, maybe researched multimedia and made one of those, researched movies, made one of those. With my greater science and my greater actions, I'm able to generate culture better than someone who still only has 4 actions in Age 3. But here, since it's convenient, I take Sid, I research computers, I upgrade both of my labs, I'm making 16 culture per turn, I grab my modern army because I'm like, what the hell, there's no point in keeping it a surprise, I'm highest on strength, and we move on. Spillis Willis gets those rockets going, grabs a revolutionary idea, that's all I can do. Nasty Michael, aka Giga Chad Gandhi, flips an event. I put this in here, by the way, and so I get 15 quick points. My 2nd place opponent gets 10, but notice the gap has already shrunk to nothing. He gets multimedia down. He fixes his happy faces, makes a multimedia, and grabs this to help build the space flight. Grabs another warrior upgrade, passes the turn. Pepe grabs International Red Cross. This is a pretty cool move. He grabs it, and with the engineering and 16 food that he's hoarded, he builds it in 1 action. But this is just how hard life has been on Pepe. Look at this. Look at this. He just got 32 points in 1 round, and this is where he's at. And I think a lot of it's not his fault. I mean, I criticize some of his moves, but I mean, this man has been through some hard times this game. So he's doing the best he can. He passes the turn. It's me. I play an event. We have Pepe getting kicked in the balls 1 more time, just because, life is good that way. Note that I'm a despot, and so that I can't actually make another computer to generate more culture or more of anything. So this multimedia is actually very valuable to me because it gives me another type of building I can build and generate culture with. I grab patriotism and modern infantry so I can upgrade to an updated army in case that's necessary, but this does mean that I don't have the science to research a government, so I'm going to be stuck as a despot all game. Syphilis the Willis goes ahead and gets fundamentalism. He raises population, builds a lab, researches organized religion, and fixes his happy faces. So for the first time all game, he actually has more than 4 actions, but the game is about to end. We're coming up on our final turn of Age 3. Giga Chad Gandhi plays an event. We got variety. It's kind of a wash, though I do come out a little bit ahead, and I get 8 points over the person who was most threatening. Notice in just a couple of turns. Now I'm in the lead very comfortably. Lord Michael researches yet another government. He starts building his wonder. He finishes it, and the reason he finishes it is to take the Manhattan Project. Now, when I first saw this, I thought this was a mistake. But this is one of the interesting things in this game in Age 3. There wasn't much, I don't think, but this was so that he could take Manhattan Project, which may look like an error because he's 1 rock short of being able to build it. But if you look at the situation, I think it's actually very smart. He is not getting 1st or 2nd place. He's just not. It's not happening. But he might lose third place if Pepe does a war against him, which Pepe can actually do because Pepe has 8 friggin' military actions. And Pepe also has 35 rocks and engineering. So had this Wanderer been left for Pepe, Pepe could in fact have taken 5 actions to put the Manhattan Project into play, a 6th action to build it all in one swoop, and then still had more than enough rocks left over to research air forces and make a pilot. Now, the problem with that is he would have then been in revolt, but he would have sacrificed a whole 4 culture to do a gigantic war on Lord Michael. And the fact that, I mean, maybe Michael didn't. Maybe he did mess up and thought he could build the Wonder, but he couldn't. I don't know. But it turns out looking like a genius move because Michael saw that possibility and realized he had to not let it happen in order for him to keep third place, if we assume the most generous interpretation possible. Pepe does declare the war. He raises population, air forces. He goes hard. He makes 2 airplanes here. He's out of actions now because of Gandhi's thing. He grabs some stuff. But his strength is a lot lower than it could have been because he didn't have the Manhattan Project to build. So on my turn, as Age 4 begins, I play an event. It's progress, which is not great for me. It's good for Pepe here, as he fights for third with Nasty Michael. But luckily, my main opponent is also not benefiting much from it. I get the oil because I put, I think, Impact of Rocks in there. I research infantry, and just in case, I make sure my army's updated so that in case someone put Impact of Strength or Competition or wants to do some aggression, they can't. I raise population twice to fix my happy faces, and I have no ability to turn them into temples or theaters because I cannot build any more buildings. I'm on my urban building limit of 2 thanks to being a despot, and I'm not going to get communism going because it's only 16 science I've got here. So I grab mechanized agriculture so that in case somebody put impact of technology, I can research oil and mechanized agriculture both and get an extra 4 points. All right, Spillis Willis is up. He grabs the movies, researches them, upgrades, and he also blows up a mine to make another temple with, and that's all he's doing. Nasty Michael's got a nasty trick up his sleeve. After flipping an event, we only played 2 colonies all game, and I guess Pepe put them both in. He grabs satellites, researches them, blows up a mine, blows up another mine, blows up a third mine, and actually builds 2 cavalry. He's ahead of Pepe on strength. And he even builds another worker there just for the ultimate indignity. He grabs military theory and patriotism and passes the turn. So Pepe's war against Giga Chad Gandhi fails, as we all knew it would. Gandhi up in the top, right where he belongs, and he steals the 10 points to secure third place. Pepe plays an event. We all get some points. Pepe getting the least, of course. And he raises population a couple times, builds a temple, blows up a farm, researches modern infantry, plays some rocks, does that stuff, makes another temple, and passes. All right, so he does make sure he's ahead of Gandhi. Not that it may or may not matter. I play an event. It's food. I research oil. I research mechanized agriculture in case somebody put Impact of Tech in there. I upgrade this because I put Impact of Rocks in there. I upgrade the food because I have 2 rocks and literally nothing I can do with them. Besides that, even though the food event has already come and gone, I take that even though I can't do anything with it, and then my turn is over. So Syphilis Willis has only a single thing to do. After playing the event, which I crush, it's a good sign if you're getting a high score on Impact of Balance. It means you have a pretty strong civilization. He upgrades a theater, and there's nothing else for him to do. He could have blown up something or other and made a temple, but I guess he was just, not risking it, and it doesn't even matter anyways. And so here we are. This is one of those rare cases where there's a really clear difference between first, second, third, and fourth, and at no point in the resolution of the events does that change. So it wasn't exactly smooth sailing. I was extremely tense throughout most of this game and endured some hardships. Not as hard as Pepe, of course. If I had endured hardships as hard as Pepe, I would have come in 4th place. But some hardships were endured. A critical worker was lost to a great pestilence. 10 science was lost to the Dark Ages. I even lost an action in Call to Arms, although of course Pepe lost too. But at the end of it all, nothing changed. as these events were flipped over, and I got a really nice start to the second stage. A win in the 4-player game for 6 points, Spilasulas getting 3, Nasty Michael getting 1, and poor Pepe getting none. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow with the second game, so I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.